Okay, so I guess first thing of business is let's find a chairman to help run these meetings and find a clerk to take the notes. Somebody you guys choose out of this group, or somebody you think you can trust outside. I don't care if you bring in another person for the clerk, but one of you guys need to be the chairman. To call the meeting.
I'm willing to do that. I mean, that's kind of in my skill set, but if somebody else just wants to, it doesn't matter.
I don't want to. Do you want to, Sam, or no? Or
I'll do the job if I'm voted for it. You know, I'm not jumping up and down. How about you, sir?
He was just a,
He's just the public.
I thought he was part of the group.
So
Do we move we have to do the motion, we make the
Is
motion?
that how it has to be?
I believe your name is
Yeah.
Vance, is that correct?
yeah,
Okay.
we'll do it all officially, and you guys just.
I move that we select Vance as our chairman, he seems to be willing to do so, and we'll cast a unanimous ballot for him.
Anybody second?
Somebody second?
Anybody second?
Everybody second?
Okay, so all in favor?
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay, there you go.
And now we do the same thing with clerk.
We can. Do you guys want to use somebody in the group, or do you want to bring somebody from outside the group to take notes?
It doesn't matter. I would say if somebody inside the group's willing,
Yeah,
then that
that's
just makes it one less schedule to have to work with. But
yeah, it'd be easier if somebody
Okay.
wanted to. I don't know if anybody wants to.
Oh.
Does anybody want to?
No, thank you.
I wouldn't know what to write or when to write it, or if you could read it after I
Yeah,
did write it.
right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me. I mean, that's,
How detailed do you keep the minutes, the notes? How detailed is it gonna be?
She has too
Yeah,
much to do
just pick
already.
and scratch. Kind
well, I think she's just gonna explain what the job is.
you just have to kind of give like a high level of like what the
Right,
conversations
an
were.
overview
Okay.
of what.
So we're
what
gonna
happened.
paraphrase what was said in a meeting?
So
Yeah.
you would just write it down so you can understand it, and then I guess at the next meeting, give everybody a copy so they can agree that that's what was discussed.
That's
Oh,
typically.
And you would, and everybody's gonna have proof, so, cause it's on the video every time, so it's not like you can, so.
Sounds like you're itching for that
No,
opportunity.
I'm not itching. I just,
Oh.
I like to understand the whole process.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking. But I've been a clerk before, and that's not a, that's not my wheelhouse.
Not mine either.
No, mine either. I got too much hillbilly slang.
Elsa, do you wanna do it?
I will do it, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Elsa.
Thank you, Greg.
Well, do we have a motion?
Motion to appoint Elsa as
Was the
Clerk.
clerk,
Second.
Thank you.
second? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. There you go. It's no longer my meeting. You guys are in charge.
You want to give us a little bit of direction?
A little bit of direction about
Yeah,
what
so this ain't, this, I know this come about because of the solar panels. But it's not about the solar panels. It's about industrial development out in the county. So anything that would come in that is considered non-agricultural, so that would be an industrial pig farm, an industrial chicken farm, an industrial wind farm, a solar farm, an automotive plant, right? Anything that would go into the county that wouldn't be deemed industrial park or an industrial area, it's gonna take up ag land. That's what this is about. We need to set setbacks for, and limits for these industrial projects to come in so that the neighbors feel like they're being protected and the landowners still feel like they're being protected to do what they want with their land. So that is kind of the guidelines I'm gonna give you. So think of it not just as solar, but as everything.
So I
Industrial.
guess in that discussion, are we gonna discuss like solar as an industry? I mean, are we gonna talk about the pros and cons of solar? Or are we just talking about industry as a whole and not even mentioning the word solar?
That would be up to you guys. I mean, you guys figure out your industrial setbacks, and then if we need to get more specific about each, like if we need to get more specific about it being an industrial solar field or an industrial pig farm or we can
Okay.
we can get more specific about that. But
So if I wanted to put up solar panels on my farm for my own use, that's not involved.
that's not industrial. That is for your house. You can put them on your roof, you can put them in your yard.
And I can put them anywhere on my property I want to.
If it's for your house, yes, it's not an industrial. So residential is different than industrial. So even if, so the way I understand, like if you just did, and I know everybody hates this word zoning, but if we did a basic zoning that encompassed industrial, right, it wouldn't affect the agricultural or the residential of the county. So if you had a 160 acre farm and you wanted to build a barn and a house, we're not gonna say anything about that. But if you wanna cover the 160 acres with an automotive plant, now we get to say, well, you've gotta build it within these specifications around the neighbors. We're not gonna stop you from doing it, we're just gonna make sure that everybody in the circle feels more protected. Does that make sense?
May I ask another question?
Yes.
Okay, this is about money. Okay. The comment has been made that we're gonna have to raise the taxes if we're gonna cover last year's budget for this year's requests. Okay. A number of 3.9 mil has been mentioned to me.
I
Is
don't
that,
know where you got that number.
okay,
I haven't done the math yet to figure out how many mills we're gonna have to adjust.
okay.
But I can tell you one thing, it's not gonna go down.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but I have another question. Is what's happened with the turbines, the wind turbines, and what's happened with the solar farm, is that going to be available, or is it going to ease that problem anytime soon?
Well, that's a
You
tough
mean with the
question.
taxes problem?
So you
tax
These are
problem?
taxes,
So you
anytime
mean,
soon,
so you mean our contributions we're gonna get from solar
right?
before we could even start taxing them? So I had a meeting with a solar company on Thursday that is gonna do the project north of Uniontown.
What's that
I'm
address?
What?
What's that address?
I don't know what the actual address is, cause it's just north of Uniontown.
Okay,
They're doing, it's gonna be several $1 million project.
okay. Already signed contracts?
I think they've got land contracts signed, but they're still doing all their preliminary stuff.
So it's not a done deal?
No, it's not a done deal. It is not a done deal. Now, the money side of things is a plus for the county. We can get Uniontown School District lots of money. We can potentially get the county a lot of money. I'm gonna try to work with them to separate it, where they just write a check yearly to the school districts. And then they write a check to the county for whatever sum of money we decide the county needs. The plan is to get all the landowners involved and the non-participating landowners to an agreement. This is what we'll agree to.
Good for you,
And the county
okay,
can profit off of this thing to help eventually start lowering
okay.
the property taxes.
To answer your question in the immediate future, so Jayhawk Wind already makes a contribution. I think that's already kind of enrolled into the budget. So it's not providing additional tax relief than it already has, because their contribution
Yes.
is the same every year until the last year is less. And then it becomes a part of the tax roll, and that's 2030. It becomes a part of the tax roll, and this could be not right, but I think it becomes a part of the tax roll in 2033, and then the first property tax payments will be issued in the 2034 year.
Yes.
Because it gets assessed at the end of that year. And so, my understanding is it'll add $6 million to the assessed valuation. So the county has $122 million assessed valuation, so could potentially lower taxes by 3%. This is just made up numbers, but I mean, rough math, could lower tax
But
by 3%.
that's not till
33.
2033, 34.
And that's because the state has done
Yeah,
a
that's
10-year tax abatement.
So all these projects also receive a 10-year, all the solar receive a 10-year tax abatement.
So it's gonna be 10 years before we see relief.
Yeah, except for like the solar project, when development starts, they have to pay $1,500 per megawatt of essentially what they're developing.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they develop 200 acres, then that's $600,000, right?
So yeah, something like that.
Before
yeah.
we go in, I just need to clear something real quick. The money that you're getting, and I'm new to this, so the money
Me
that
too.
we're getting, the money you're getting in taxes, that's from the landowner, not
No.
from
So
the developer.
Well,
So-
it's taxed on the landowner, but it depends on how the landowner negotiated their contract with the energy company. So I guess I'm gonna say that I have a contract, I have signed a contract with one of these companies. And basically, you're given a contract and you negotiate that back and forth.
Sure.
So for my contract, they're gonna take care of the taxes. But that's up to you to negotiate.
But
Okay,
the contracts change, they go from like an agricultural assessment to a commercial
Just
assessment.
commercial, right, so
Yes.
you go up on a tax bracket because it's no longer ag exemption.
Yeah, it's
I get
totally
that.
different.
All right, so my next question on this is, let's just say I am Evergy and I pay you X amount for whatever it is to use your land for solar panels, correct? You're beholden to that tax, I'm not, because if I default upon it, what happens, who pays the tax? Because
Correct.
he's a commissioner, he's gonna say, you owe me 3%.
Correct.
Whatever. So if I'm Evergy, I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting subsidized from the federal government anymore, or green energy is not profitable. Like for the instance, I'm thinking here is that Texas billionaire who built all them the windmills. He said that was the worst thing he ever did. He quit funding them. So when you drive through Texas, a bunch of those windmills are defunct.
Right.
But he got out of it because he said the money, and he passed away. I can't remember that guy's name. But anyways, now before he passed, he went into natural gas. So who's paying the taxes? That's my question. Who's going to pay the tax on that?
I guess also I'm going to say with the contract that I've signed, I'm not supposed to talk
Sure,
about it.
yeah.
So I can just talk in general terms.
Sure.
But I will say that my contract, I feel that I am protected in my contract from those taxes. And also I feel that my contract protects me in the event of default.
Sure.
That there's protections in there.
And
for me in
I
those.
apologize if I'm digging a little bit too.
No.
Oh, no, I'm going to answer questions.
want-
And that's a lot of the reason why I want to be on this committee, just so I could share as much light as I
Sure.
can. I don't know how much that is, but I can share some.
Yeah, I know. You taught me
Yeah.
quite a bit now. So the taxes come from the mill levy upon the commercial use of that
Yeah,
land.
so what'll happen in another 8 years when the wind actually has to start paying their portion of their commercial property, our county appraiser, well, the guy that everybody hates, cause he's the one who decides how much taxes are, he'll go out and he'll assess them and he'll say, okay, they make this much kilowatts, this is what, it's blah, 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 and it's this many
And
acres.
it's 10 years.
So it's
So, yeah,
just to correct, so it's value when new, value of the equipment when new, they had to provide
Sure.
those receipts too. It's depreciated down to 20% is
Sure.
the Kansas statute. Doesn't let you depreciate that. If it's working, if it's still operational, it can't be depreciated underneath 20%. So
Okay.
20% of the cost of the equipment when it was new times the 20% commercial assessment.
Okay.
So there's no reprieve immediate,
No.
The immediate reprieve is the $1,500
but that's it.
per kilowatt or megawatt.
megawatt during development.
But 600,000 is a drop in the bucket.
Right, you're correct.
Yeah.
But it's, so you gotta look at it as a long-term investment,
Right, okay,
right? You
that's
don't
what I was getting
expect,
at.
so if you put $1 in this investment account, you don't expect to be worth $1 million tomorrow, right?
Right.
But you expect
Right.
it to be worth $1 million
Yeah, maybe.
in 10, you know, well, I'm just, right. Well, if $1 turns into $1 million and you found the right investment, you need to tell
I've
everybody
got,
what it
I've
is.
got friends in high places.
A loaf of bread's also going to cost $1 million.
Yeah, but,
Right.
yeah,
Right, so, but so, as long as everybody stays above board, like these solar panels don't do what some of the wind guys have done in like Allen County, right, where they've kind of just run off and right, we're hearing horror stories about what they've done to the people in Allen County. As long as we don't get those horror stories in Bourbon County, which is why this committee needs put together, so we can make sure that Bourbon County doesn't face those same negative effects, right, and the county can get a good deal, and the landowners can get a good deal, and the non-participating landowners feel like they are, they're.
So, but how can we find out that good deal? How can we say that they're not going to do it to Bourbon
Well,
County?
we can't, there's really no.
Well, there are some things, like one protection is that a landowner could negotiate in like a surety bond. So essentially they would say a decommissioning bond, right? So like I could say, you can develop my land, but you have to have $5 million in a surety bond at the start of construction or part of the way into construction. And then essentially, if they go defunct, the landowner gets whatever that number is, $5 million, and then they can destroy it.
Regardless, right?
And there are decommissioned, like if you look at like the Jayhawk Wind project, like the county signed a decommissioning agreement with Jayhawk Wind that outlines some of that. And I would assume that the county will assign some sort of decommissioning, like, you can't just leave it a mess. If you do, obviously, the county's gonna come after you for damages or this, that, or whatever.
Right, yeah, and I'm sure they've got one on the big solar field that they just agreed on.
There was,
The
like,
Next
three or
Air
four
project, they've got a decommissioning contract for the county, and I think the landowner signed one.
There's a road
And,
use.
and there was a road use tax put in, or road use fee put into it.
Okay,
So
could I ask a question regarding,
Oh, Sparky. pull
Come
up.
on
Come on
in
up.
here.
Come on up.
I can move down the,
There you go.
we can all move around here.
What were you saying, Elson?
so about the insurance, if you will say it that way, that if something happens, that this is taken care of or whatever. And this is now something I cannot say as facts or whatever, but I have heard that after all this is done, that they are then selling to a third party. And there is where a lot of discrepancy then starts happening when we talk about the other county, they got.
Oh, you mean like the
excuse me,
solar,
my-
the solar development itself is sold to a third party? Well, I think the way most of
Yeah.
these solar guys are set up, from all the conversation I've had with them, the way most of these guys are set up is they build it, or they pay a contractor to build it, install it, get it on the grid, and then they actually get paid from the electric company to
Feed the power.
produce, for the electricity they produce, put into the grid.
And,
But-
and the lease stays with the property, so if the property were to be, and even the ability to sell it can be negotiated in the lease as well. But the lease stays with the property, so if it does go to another company, they still have to abide by the same lease documents.
Yeah, but I have
that-
heard that's where the discrepancy happens.
What?
Even if it's like the third time
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, as long as it's in the terms of that lease, they'll have to.
Well, as long,
have to-
that is a big word, as long.
Well, no, I mean, as long as it's in the time period of that lease. That
Yeah.
lease is attached to that piece of property, and no matter who holds that lease, if they sell it 100 times, you still have to
So-
follow that.
Right.
So what
Or the
he's-
landowner is gonna have to
So what-
sue you, and it's gonna be,
Oh my
and then they're gonna lose that surety bond, and, you know, there's gonna be some of that.
So what he's saying is if the developers, in 10 years when the taxes are getting ready to kick in, say we don't want it no more, we don't wanna pay the taxes, so they sell it to another person,
Yeah.
that person's still responsible for paying the landowner, making sure the money's in the decommission account, and
Paying the
they pay the
taxes.
taxes.
Yeah.
pay the taxes.
So, all right.
That is what it's supposed to be.
That's what it's supposed to
That's
be.
what will happen.
Anything can go wrong, you're right,
Exactly.
anything can go wrong.
Yeah,
That's the-
unfortunately,
yeah.
it has been gone wrong, and so that's.
Yeah, there's some people that have gotten hurt bad
Yeah.
from some of these companies.
We have no guarantee on that.
No.
We have no guarantee on anything.
Well,
I mean,
from-
we had
from
Mercy
past
Hospital come in and they decide they're gonna close
From past
Yeah.
experience, you know, what
Yeah.
gives.
from past
years
That's- I
experience,
think that's
which
why you're
makes us
here.
just a little bit,
Uncomfortable.
Right, you're absolutely correct. All of you guys are right. From the landowners, the people who benefit from the people who are governing it, from the people who are against it. These are really, really good conversations. I'm learning a lot, but the one thing that keeps staring me in the face is there is no guarantees. And none of this is guaranteed.
None of this.
Everything you guys are talking about, I'm reminded of a $50 million tax credit to not Microsoft, it's the chip company, Intel. To Intel, to come in and build Fab 7 through 13. They built it, 10-year moratorium on taxes, $50 million. At the 9th year, they start decommissioning, they start moving out. They move all their operation down to Central America, they move their operation to, we never got the taxes. How they got, I mean, so I'm not saying that you gentlemen shouldn't do what you should do, God bless you, please do. But as somebody sitting on the outside looking in, and I'm looking at this whole committee here, it's like, what am I supposed to be doing here? The bottom line comes down to, it's like, I don't have a say, so none of us on this table has a say, so whether or not this windmill, the solar farm goes in or not. What we have a say is what we recommend to
Yeah, of
Brandon
course.
and his team, is
Yeah.
like, hey, look, this is what we think should happen. So to answer your question, ma'am, is like, we do have a say. Now, will it come to fruition? I don't know. So I'm looking at it from the standpoint was like, well, I need to do my darndest right now to make sure that whatever we talk about here does come to fruition. Because there is an unknown. I don't know if we're gonna get those taxes. But you know what? Maybe we can put in a buffer in there where it protects us, the people who live in and around these industrial, solar farms, that, hey, it might help.
Well, and then the next thing that could come in too, I mean, whatever that
That's
may
the,
be.
Right.
that's, if we can figure out this fight and still remain friends.
Yes, I
and when
agree.
the next stuff comes in, we've already
I
got the
agree.
fight figured out.
Because the thing that you guys haven't even talked about is nobody here in this table has even mentioned, because this administration just pumped a bunch of money into the rural economy. The largest infusion of money into the rural economy in the nation in I don't know how many decades. And the biggest part of that is battery farms. They're putting up battery farms, which sounds great, but lithium battery brings a whole different set of issues with it.
Yeah, but there's no proposed battery farms.
I understand
I
that,
don't think there's any,
but
I
I'm
don't know
saying,
of any, but I
and
don't
there's
know.
not any, the only one that has any battery storage, and I wish I'd have been on the commission when they done that, cause I'd have X'd that out, is that next era one does have a battery storage facility on it, I think.
but what I'm saying is that you may not have one now,
Right.
but that's the next
Well, but
evolution
that's-
in this whole
but
thing.
Yeah, but if we do solar farm, we are supporting whatever you say about the battery.
Right, that's
You know.
that's the ultimate goal, because the other
Yeah.
half, the other part of this equation is there's a movement out there to do a 5 mile wide, 780 mile long, high powered transmission corridor, and it goes from basically
So-
Garden City all the way to Nebraska and then straight across to Illinois, and that's just our portion of it. That doesn't include the rest of America, So I'm looking at this stuff because in preparation for my role here. I spent a lot of time reading and looking, and I'm not saying I'm anti-solar. I love the technology. But you know what? I'm pro-people. I'm
Me
pro-people.
too. That is exactly right.
So that's
I'm
what I-
pro Bourbon County. I want what's best for Bourbon County and the people in it.
The contract money per megawatt or kilowatt for the county is gonna come down to how well the commissioners can negotiate for that dollar to get it to help faster than the 10-year tax, right? So, and that's kind of what Mary Pemberton's been against the whole time, is the county itself signed a crap contract. And she's like, just go to them and renegotiate. You can always renegotiate a contract if you feel like you've been wronged, right?
Taken advantage of?
So I don't want the county, in the long run, when we've started putting these things in and we're getting these things and they're here, I don't want the county to be, well, we got a better deal than that county. No, I want everybody to go, we want the Bourbon County contract.
Yes.
That's what we want, right?
Yes.
So that's why this committee's together. We're gonna come up with our solutions to keep people happy, and then that gives me a foot to stand on and say, well, this is what's gonna happen and this is what it's gonna cost you.
So we're talking here about bringing money into the county. That
In the
is
long
kind
run,
of
in the
a-
long run, it should bring millions of dollars.
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the
but
county.
that is pretty much what we like, what the talk is right now, right?
Well-
So why not finding ways of bringing to the county money with a project or whatever, it has not so many
So-
side effects or
Right.
destructive, ways as we talked
May I-
about
may I?
the batteries and all that
The
stuff.
reason why is because right now, there's nothing else out there. The magic word right now is green energy. The magic pill right now that our government's feeding us is green energy. Everywhere you look, this is not a Bourbon County issue. This is a
absolutely,
national
I
issue.
understand that, I
If you
know.
do if you
Yes.
drive from here to the West Coast, I promise you, you're gonna hit solar farm. Some of them, are small, some are huge. And that's just the way it is. It's not that this is going to happen. One way or the other, it's going to happen.
We can figure this out because one of the biggest ones in the country are going in Johnson County by DeSoto.
Yeah.
It's supposed to, when it's all said and done, it's gonna be one of the biggest solar fields in the country.
That's what I heard.
Okay, but, and I think also part of that conversation
Sure.
that I would point to is like, that's an industry that is so expensive. I mean, we're talking about $700,000 of an investment per you know, megawatt, that's $200,000 per acre. That'd be like somebody developing a whole section with starter home, starter home, starter home, starter home. You know, like, we just don't have those kind of like people or industry that are looking to come to Bourbon County, or specifically, you know, my half of the school district where the school is, you know. We just don't have very many. We haven't had hardly anybody, you know, big industry.
And 95% of the county is agricultural. I mean,
I wondered what percent that was.
I don't think it's quite 95, but I know it's at least 85 to 90% is agricultural production ground. So you just don't get the tax base income like you do if you're in some place like Johnson County that has 4 or 5 towns in it that have 100,000 people in it, right? And has those subdivisions and those businesses
And high-paying jobs.
and high-paying jobs. So the houses are more expensive, so the taxes are higher. So it's, you know,
So,
But I also think, and I'm kind of jumping subject a little bit, not too much neither, but we are 90, we'll say 90% just to give a little buffer there. But I mean, I still feel like we got to keep some of it, and I think we can resolve that with however we come about, meet with a happy medium on this stuff, and then we can kind of reserve some of those. The percentage, maybe it drops it to, I don't know, 75, but whatever. But I don't, the way that the setbacks, at least at the Hinton Creek, are written up right now, I mean, that's taking basically whatever they want to use of that land, they can, you know, take it all.
what you're saying is you don't want to lose the character of the county.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
still, I think we can bring it in. I'm not saying I'm against bringing them in, but I think in the
70%.
right areas, right way, not,
Mhm.
you know, a safe way to do it too, but yeah, it may not be as much as what everybody's wanting either, but we're still reserving it for everything, because we gotta think of the future too. I mean, with the kids coming in or whoever that may be wanting to move here, it's definitely not gonna attract people to come in and move.
and I do think.
Maybe
with
some.
Some of the taxes could help.
Yes, the
But-
taxes.
Well, and I think that's what I was gonna say. I think if we have solar that's helping lower the taxes, it helps us as the commission, as the people that are supposed to be taking care of the county, to reach out to these other businesses and say, look, our taxes are low. Come build a factory here. Our taxes are low because we have this. Come put in your storage facility. Come put in your whatever it is, you know, your server room, your.
That comment's all great and good, but the history, and I'm not from Bourbon County, I moved here in '05. It seems like the more money they get their hands on, the more money gets spent. It don't, and so, your idea is correct, you know, but you have to have the right people in your position to make sure that happens.
So, yeah, we need lawmakers because I absolutely hate spending taxpayers' money. I hate it.
I don't like spending other people's money.
No,
It's-
why,
So, but that's why you get that's why you try to get more industry, and I think the solar, when we get it limited to however many acres we wanna come in, and we can make the non-participating landowners happy, you guys.
Okay, but are we able to do that, or are we just talking about setbacks on industrial? Because you know, I guess I'm a little bit confused as to we're sitting here talking about solar, which is what I thought we were going to talk about. But when you said in the beginning, you know, that we're going to discuss setbacks on industrial,
Which that is industrial.
that it is industrial, but that covers a lot of things, and I don't
Exactly.
understand, you know, how we translate all that together, put all that together.
Can I make a suggestion? Let's work on this immediate and see if we can come up with something, and then before we're done, look at if we need to expand that into other industry, far as if it'd be a livestock feedlot or
Well, I think before
whatever.
you were here, Brandon addressed that we can't do that, right?
We cannot pick on one single industry. Right, I can't just, which I see what you're saying, let's figure out what we want with the solar,
Let's get the
and
basic
then we can
first.
roll that over into
Right,
the other industries.
Okay,
Right.
Was it meant, I think it was mentioned, I think Mr. Harris said, we can make a suggestion, but we cannot make the suggestion that this go on the ballot, because it can't go on the ballot. Zoning cannot go on the ballot. Is that what I'm?
No, that's not right.
you
That's
mean,
not right,
you mean we cannot
So-
suggest that it goes on a ballot? If it,
because the county commissioners have to make the decision, they can't put it on the ballot. that's what I understood Mr. Harris to
That-
say.
that's a-
To you guys, and then you guys hash it out and figure out.
Like, we're not elected officials, so I don't.
No,
we don't have
not
any
me.
decision.
So, well,
Not
but
me say
now-
can't put it on the ballot,
Now,
but.
Mr.
No,
Harris,
we can't even
Mr. Harris
suggest he
did
put it on
say,
the ballot, cause
Mis-
if they have to
Mr. Harris
decide.
did promise you guys in last week's meeting that you come up with your suggestions, and we will take it as a commission under advisement. We'll talk to the counselor. We can talk, there's multiple attorneys involved in county business and county, how the counties are supposed to work, that we can contact, and we can figure out how to get it on the ballot or how to
Oh,
make it
okay,
a resolution.
Okay, I understood it
group-
couldn't go
Correct.
on a ballot.
Yeah, if the group has questions, are we able to talk to Justin Meeks, or does that have? Or,
I don't know why you couldn't. He does work for the county. I mean, but you guys bring it to me and I'll call Meeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I can always call Meeks and say, hey, this is what the committee is thinking. What do we need to do to get this to
Yeah.
work?
I
And
just
it
don't
may
want us
be-
to get
and it
like
may be-
80, think we're 80% of the way there, and then we talk to him, and it's like, oh no,
Yeah,
you're 10%
so-
of the way there. Yeah,
so-
we spent all the energy for nothing.
Yeah, so I can stay in contact with Meeks. And then always relay everything back to you guys. And then what we come up with, what you guys come up with here, relay it to Meeks.
Well, they're gonna look at legal, whatever we suggest, they're gonna look at that.
We're gonna
legal.
have to,
The
so.
first thing anyway.
Right, we're gonna have to make sure whatever we do is legal, and I can run it by Meeks, and I can call the KCA attorney, and we can go from there. And we can get the legal assistance we need, right?
So
To
I
make
guess-
sure that what we're doing is correct.
What's our timeline for this?
I was gonna be. I think we need to kind of flesh that out. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope. I mean, I don't know.
5 or 6 meetings?
6 or 8
Can we do
weeks,
it in
I don't know.
5 or 6 weeks, 6
It
or 8
depends.
weeks?
What is the county's timeline? Do they have a timeline?
Well, we have a moratorium until January. If
We
it's-
don't wanna take that.
I do
But
not.
I would say, right,
What is it to get anything on the ballot?
that's what I'm
or
thinking, how soon would we have to have a question
I bet you can't get things on the ballot at this point.
in
It's too
November?
late.
Could we put something on the ballot in November?
45 days before the general election.
So we have until
So,
I was thinking.
When's a general election?
November sixth.
Do it by September the first,
Yeah,
So-
you're talking
so-
September.
So,
no, first of September.
September first.
So you got basically 2 months. You got 2
I
months.
think you guys could get it done faster than that.
I think so, too.
I'm thinking if it takes 2 months, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, I think to move forward and to complete it in a period of time, I guess we need to figure out how we're gonna do this. We wanna discuss these things by topic, or by, like, next week, everybody bring and let's talk about health concerns.
That's
Next
kinda
week,
what I think.
let's come back
Otherwise-
and talk about, I don't know, those kind of things. Is that how we wanna do it, or how do we wanna do it?
I think,
Go ahead,
I think first, we need to just put down everything that needs to be looked at. Is it, and now, are we looking at anything with the roads or anything at all? Or
So-
just strictly the setbacks?
I think just September.
Just setbacks for now.
Okay.
I mean, you guys do
So-
setbacks, and if we can come up with an
So
agreement, then I will
we need-
figure out how
We
to.
need to
move
know
forward.
what the hazards are,
Yep.
the downfalls, if something like, I don't know, you guys probably have all seen the solar farm that got destroyed down by Houston. It just devastated that, and there's a lot of things that people, I had a lady make a comment to me the other day, well, they're running sheep out around that one west of Devon, there ain't no harm. Yeah, as long as everything goes right, there's no harm, but it's when it goes wrong is where the problem is.
Right.
So we need to, hazard,
Safety protocol.
safety, the neighbor setback type thing, we need to make a list of topics, and then, like you say, either, dish them out, or somebody wants to
Because me,
volunteer.
Let's do that. I say let's do that right now. So we'll
Yeah.
start with health concerns,
You
or
can do health and environmental kinds
Health
of
and
things.
environment.
And I would probably set that as two separate ones,
okay,
because health is really a lot different than environmental,
sure.
and it could be a big factor.
Okay, what's the next?
So they,
Safety, as far as fire, fire deal, fire protocol.
Like hazard.
That goes under hazard,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
yeah,
I
it
would
would
say-
go under hazardous, yes.
What about a green zone?
What
What do
about
you mean
what?
by green zone?
By a green zone, meaning when you have a setback, you still have a setback, I've
Do
heard,
you have a tree?
you're talking about like foliage and that kind of
Yes, sir.
stuff that,
yes, sir?
Okay.
so that could be like, you're talking
Now,
like
is that
fencing
something,
and,
is that something that the solar farm is gonna be,
So I do know that all the solar companies I've talked to, till I was blue in the face, they are willing to put up visual barriers, so a green zone. They're willing to plant trees or put up a privacy fence. They would prefer like big, fast-growing, beautiful evergreen
Arborvitae, I
trees,
think, is-
Yeah.
right?
Because also, if they put trees in, they gain carbon credits.
All right. Probably, I'm sure. I'm sure it's something
So,
that,
I mean,
yeah.
you know,
So-
there's other industries and, you know, that's
But
what
that
they
also,
look at.
but
I think-
yeah, I understand they gain carbon credits, but in this instance, that carbon credit will be minor in comparison to the carbon negative that they extract from the soil, because you gotta bulldoze a lot of these trees. I mean, this place is full of trees. This is not the desert, you know, in the
this ain't
desert.
it's not western Kansas, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
A lot of the land they're developing is that open land, from what I know.
A lot of it is,
Pasture land.
Right,
and a lot of it doesn't even have any neighbors other than other open land.
right.
But there's also, how long does it take a tree to grow?
Well, they have hybrid,
I don't know.
they have hybrid evergreen trees that people in the city are putting in for privacy fences, and they start out this tall, and in 5 years, they're 8 feet tall.
That's true.
And
Those
foot
are,
diameter.
those are
I did a
affluent clients, they
project
have
out,
those.
just, outside of Redfield, the people that bought that ground wanted privacy, and those trees, Redbud put them in there, they're already, I mean, when they put them in there, they're 5, 6 foot tall already, I mean, you can put some pretty good sized stuff in, so, and like they say, you know, you'll see advertisements for trees that really grow quite fast.
But they usually don't have a very long life.
They don't, but
20
then
years.
also, if they set it up right and do it right, you put the fast growing and you also put some long-term
Right.
stuff in there, so you don't just do the one and they die out and you're done.
Yeah, they acted like they do it all the time, so they probably know what they're doing with the.
But
with the visual.
whatever we recommend when it comes to, the thing I thought about, especially on the green zone, the green belt, whatever, is you can't just put in there green belt. You gotta spell that out.
Oh, sure.
There's
Right,
just-
yeah,
all this stuff we
well-
have to spell out.
And that's why I call it a visual barrier. Like it's, we want you this far away, and we want to put a visual barrier that is more appealing to the eyes than just looking at a solar panel or a factory or a, you know.
Right.
I guess another thing that I think we need to talk about is just property owner rights. What rights the property owners have, and if we want zoning, or you want your neighbor to be able to tell you what you can do or not, or you know, that needs to definitely be a discussion.
If you don't,
Right.
if we put in these suggestions, and the county commissioner takes it up, you have no enforcement authority without a zone.
I know, that's another thing, is enforcing anything that we've done, anything that we say, is there a way for that to be enforced?
Well, if you put in zones, then you can enforce it
Right.
legally, all right?
Right.
That's, so I know a lot of people in this county don't like zones, I get it, I totally understand that. But-
For the citizens.
What I'm saying is, if you're gonna do something and you can't enforce it, then why do it?
Right.
It's not worth it.
But what's in this committee will not be, anything that's come up out of this committee will not be able to be enforced to make the commissioners do it.
No.
Well, the commissioners can't make the county
It
do
would
it,
be foolish
can
if
they?
they didn't, if it was a good deal, you know, made sense,
We-
but there's no guarantees that they will.
I mean, they're gonna put that, I assume they'll put that in that agreement though, right? They're
We
gonna,
would put it in our contracts we signed that this has to be done.
Right, but what I'm saying is what we suggest to you guys don't mean that that's what you will take our
Yeah, but-
suggestion.
No,
But-
but
Brandon,
it's
even
supposed
if-
to be taken under advisement, and
Cause I know the city's had some
Even
real
if you
issues
did
with
put it
that,
in the
that-
contract,
that
even
groups
if
have
you put
given
it in the
to
contract,
city and they
how do
just
you enforce the contract?
wouldn't do it.
well, that.
That's my
Right.
point. Everybody talks about contract, but like this, whoever's complaining about the contracts out here, there's a simple verb, simple phrase within contract law where it says, you know, you can terminate for convenience. The government does it all the time. Every government contract out there has a termination for convenience clause. So you know what? I don't need it. Done. And there's nothing the contractor can do, you know? So it's like, are you gonna do that in these contracts? First of all, they're their contracts.
Well,
Right.
They're
just to
not-
clarify, I don't have a
Oh,
contract.
okay,
I just
well,
work for
I'm
the school district, so I love the tax
I-
implications for
okay.
the school district.
I-
I am
I-
obviously
I-
related, no, you're good, just to clarify, I am obviously John's brother,
Sure.
but I'm not a landowner.
Okay,
with a
so
contract. Yeah, no, you're fine.
so whoever the landowner is, it's their contract, and God forbid, I'm gonna tell them what to do, okay?
Right.
So, but my thing is like, let's just take this to a different sphere. Right now, you're talking about solar panels, and a lot of people don't want zones because of the aesthetics. Let's just call it what it is. It's the aesthetics. It's not that it produces clean, semi-free. It's not free because you're paying $700,000 to put the stuff in. So, but you're getting clean energy. Okay, great. But let's just say that Bo over here decides that he wants to put in a expended battery storage facility. Now what? Yeah, granted, he's going to have issues with EPA and stuff like that. But let's just say he gets it to point.
That's a federal agency. that you
I understand
try to-
that, but let's just say, dumb it down even more. He's just gonna store oil drums for one of the, trucking companies on. What are you gonna do about it? You can't do anything. What about the water leaching, the oil leaching into the water table? At some point, we have to say something. I mean, I'm never gonna tell my neighbor what to do with his land. Make sense? But I don't want him to tell me what to do with my land, but, not everybody can be responsible stewards of their land. I mean, drive around the county. I'm not disrespecting people, but there's some properties you're just like, I'm scratching my head. God bless you, but there's got to be some type of rules, especially if you craft this. If we craft this and there's no rules and we can't hold people accountable for it, let's just.
You're wasting our time.
Yes, ma'am. I say I'll bring some hot dogs. We'll fry it up and let's just have a burger burn.
I have a question. Is there any possibility, and this is just opinion, is there any possibility that an agreement can be worked out with the people who are so anti-solar because they feel there is a health hazard or anything with setbacks, and we not have to go the zoning route? Is there any possibility of that?
Brandon said that you talked about how the solar companies have been pretty open to suggestions, and that's been my with the one company I've worked, that's been what I've heard as well. So I mean maybe we can take something to them. I mean, again, there's no way to enforce that. Is the problem?
But they're willing to come.
But I do
talk
think
to
that
this
they
group
would
as
be
well.
willing
Most
to make some
developers are willing to
concessions.
come answer questions
Yes,
and talk.
the-
I reach out to that guy.
The
and he said
developers are
absolutely.
willing to come talk, they're willing to hand out flyers about, now, they're obviously the company.
But I mean, they can tell us like, of course we'll do
So-
200
so-
feet, or of course
and
we'll do
don't-
500
And I don't want
feet.
anybody to think I'm
Yeah, yeah.
anti-new technology, anti-new energy. The implications for the good it can do for the county if we can mitigate the bad,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? That's what I wanna do, is mitigate the bad.
Sure.
and I guess we're starting that with setbacks, right? The plan is
Start-
to.
yeah,
to
the
figure
start is,
setbacks.
the start is to figure out setbacks. So if we study a little bit about the hazards, the health hazards, the environmental hazards, and the green zones. I mean, if we start with those three things, and everybody comes next week and has an idea of those three things.
I don't think we can get that far in one
Probably not,
week,
probably not, but we got
can
three
set-
topics to
yeah.
talk about.
So
So
which
if
one
we
did you
only,
say?
if we only hashed out one of them,
So we just talked about,
Which one?
so the health, the
Hazardous?
health hazards,
Okay.
the
Okay,
environmental hazards, and the green zones, so the setbacks and the brush, the.
I think let's
And
go.
hope- oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, you're good.
And hopefully, as we go through health concerns, environmental concerns, and property rights, and all of those things, that's going to help us get to how big the green zone needs to be, or what the green zone needs to be, right?
Yes.
Hopefully, we're going to
Right.
say they're
what I
unsafe to be within 5 feet of one, so we got to move them 5 feet out. And the environmental impact, you need to be 10 feet away from it. So you're not making up these numbers; it doesn't
Sure.
make sense. But hopefully, with those numbers, we can establish what that setback needs to be. I guess is my interpretation of what we need to do.
Yeah, that's what,
It'll help anyways, for sure.
it'll start giving everybody an idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, this is an open meeting. I don't know, obviously, people are gonna wanna provide input, but I would say like, make that normative that they provide a written comment or something like that. I think otherwise, we could end up with like, a lot of people on every side and us spend an hour and a half, like
And
building in public. There's obviously no one here now, but,
I think it's fine
Yeah.
if they give you input, cause then you piece everything together that you're getting from
Right.
everybody or whatever, cause it may be something that every one of us missed and somebody found
sure.
out, because
But
when
I
you
want it
Google that
written.
stuff.
I don't want somebody
Right.
coming and say, I heard, or
Right.
I saw, I wanna
Then
see
You want
it.
it printed off.
So,
Print it
so what
out
I will
for me to
do at
read.
next,
Yes.
at the next commission meeting, when it's time for me to make my comments, commissioner comments, I will put out there that the committee requested that anybody who has any actual information from doing research on these things, turn in a written letter for the committee to read and go over and start making suggestions.
I think that's good, and then we can use our own time to kind of follow up and.
And what I will do-
I wouldn't, if I can interrupt, I wouldn't even have a problem if somebody, had that information, gave it to Bo, a week before we met or whatever even, I mean, they can give it to whoever's individual, it don't have to come through the county
Right.
Right, but I will put that suggestion out there for people
But I want a
to.
copy of it, cause I wanna vet their source,
Okay,
is what I wanna do.
so what you're wanting is a written letter
want
of
it.
information that has a source that they,
Where they go.
where they
Where
got their information.
'cause
Okay.
Because
You
and
can
it is
hear
tough
or
to
read
find
anything.
When you,
So-
if you Google it, a lot of times, there's 20, I'm just throwing a number out there, 20 articles
I know.
that say something, but every one of them are usually solar, somebody related to solar, or I guess that's what we're on right now, so we'll go that. But then you Google down far enough, or even further, which seems like you gotta spend an extra 30 minutes, you can find a separate, like a Berkeley research. So I think we need to go more than just what the solar panel says, is what I guess
Yeah.
where I'm
Oh,
going
sure.
to, and get to other stuff. And not to say that they're 100% true neither, but then we
Right.
can group
Yeah.
it all together.
Yeah, but it's
Like-
like, it's like
Yeah.
watching the news, you don't just watch Fox News to get an opinion, you gotta watch Fox and CNN and then
Right.
connect the
I don't
two
watch
dots.
any of them, I read. I don't watch any.
Another
I just
suggestion
read.
is if
You
you
what?
guys
I
are
read.
able to, use different search engines also.
Yes.
You will be amazed
Yes.
of how much difference you will find in search engines, of what information you will bring
Oh,
up.
different search engines have different.
Yes, and a friend of mine, he built computers and he kinda showed me how to do some, when I'm searching for stuff. And just changing a word or two in your search will change the results tremendously. So if you don't find something, and I find some goofy stuff just by searching kinda off the wall, the way you do it. You wouldn't, if you're searching for wind farms, you might, or solar farms, you might, search solar batteries or something. I mean, it's amazing, just the different way you search things, what you will come up with.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's good. Is there a way they can, I guess, are they
So-
gonna give them to you, or can they like leave
They,
them in a
they
stack?
could probably
for
give them
extra-
to the clerk
at
and she
clerk's
put them in
office?
I got a mailbox in there, don't I, or
So if you want to have them bring them to the county clerk's office,
Okay.
we can absolutely get them to bring it in if you want him to be your liaison.
Can you I guess I assume everybody has an email address, can you just run those through the copy machine and scan that as a PDF and,
Yes, I can do
Something like that.
something like this is information I received for your review, so before you leave, if you wanna get me all your email
That'd be easy.
addresses,
and then every Thursday or every Friday or whatever, you just send what you have and then save for the next week.
I can do that.
How often are we gonna meet?
Like, we need to decide that,
it's up
I
to
don't
you
know.
guys. I don't care. I'm just a commission point man, so.
Yeah, if we're gonna have, I don't know, it sounds like we have quite a bit of conversation to have by September 1st, if that's the goal. I mean, I think every week or two would be what needs to happen.
So-
I think for the next one, for sure, next week, at least get started
Something
and rolling with
And
something,
then we can kinda figure out where-
kinda, right, and then we can
And
decide. are
see
we
what we
going
come up
down?
with.
Right.
What's 2 weeks before September 1st?
September 1st, you said?
Yeah, 2 weeks before that. Or 2 Mondays before that, I
Two
guess.
Mondays before that is going to, well, September 1st, Sundays will be, Labor Day's on the 2nd. So it's gonna be the 19th of August,
Ooh.
is the 2 weeks exactly.
I just, whatever we come up with, the commission's gonna need a couple of,
I'd say hit it, I say hit it
a
once.
week or so to make up their mind and decide what we're gonna do as
I
far as
say hit it
putting
every
something on the
week.
ballot or just making a
To
resolution.
put something on the ballot, does that come with like, informing the public and
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
all kinds of, yeah.
Steps to.
What I'm saying is let's hit it every week, once a week.
For a
And
while.
and then if we see that we're making headway and traction, then we can parse it back. That's the first thing. Second thing is, nothing in here that we've talked about right now leads me to believe that it's gonna make it on the ballot. Because by the end of everything, it may not be a ballot issue. We may come to a resolution and say, hey, the best course of action is this. So I'm just gonna take the wait and see attitude, you know, and see how this whole committee.
You know, and that's the thing too, and there's no, I mean, if it comes down to it and the commission has to make a resolution, then we just lean on them to make a resolution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have, if it's something that don't need to be put on a ballot and you guys just need the 3 commissioners to say, hey, this is what needs to happen, then we'll just make a resolution and that's what we'll do.
And a lot of it's gonna depend on how good we do our research and what we really agree on here, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
If we can make, if Bo, needs so many setbacks, if we can come to, so he kinda feels comfortable with that, and if you're on the, solar side and yeah, you know, we can give up, 100 feet or 50 feet, whatever it is, you know, I think that's the whole
Yep.
idea, and if we come to that, you know, then I think we've met what we really need to do,
Yep.
you know?
And I think there
And
might,
and first of all, you're never gonna get everybody happy.
right.
No.
If you think you are, you're kidding yourself.
I want everybody content, so we're not throwing rocks at each other anymore.
And I think maybe,
I
and
don't
maybe
think
our
this committee will.
recommendation looks
I don't
something
really
like,
think this
we think
committee
a
will.
appropriate solar setback would be somewhere in between this many feet and that many feet. You know, we had difference of opinion,
Well,
but we think
and
that's.
part of it is, and let's say we decide that setbacks, and I don't have any clue, right, I don't know. But let's say we do the setbacks at 500 feet and you have to put a nice clean visual barrier in it. But the solar company can always go and talk to that neighbor and see if they're okay getting closer and see what it'll take to let them get closer.
And if they're, can,
If the neighbor's okay with
Do
them
that,
being
do.
75 feet from their house, then go talk to
See,
them. They might be okay with it.
Yeah, and that's another thing that which I guess this would come around with everything, which the safety hazard is what kills me. I don't think 500 feet's a safety hazard or very good safety protocol. If it catches on fire and we got a wind blowing out and it's blowing black smoke right in my windows when it's
Talking
in the
about the
middle of the night,
batteries,
not knowing.
batteries.
Now, we'll come up with whatever we feel, but that's where I'm at that with on that, but, so I mean, I don't know.
I
That's
think that's
where
something
the
that we-
research, which is what we're looking into first, is the
Right.
health and environment, so.
And I think that's
we're on the
something we
right
need
do
to
you
address.
have health concerns?
I do, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have nothing.
And what are
on-
they?
I don't have none that I am right now, but, I mean, I've got young kids.
Yes.
And I don't want them because, excuse me, I'll throw this out there, which I know there's no relation to the two. But just like asbestos was,
Yes.
when it first came out,
Yes.
everybody thought it was great and
Yes.
everybody used it. Well, now, Melanie.
Lived in a house surrounded by it.
It all comes out and everything, and now you gotta go through protocols, and we found out later. And maybe there was research done, I'm not saying there wasn't, cause they put something on the market. But I don't feel like something this big of a thing coming in close to residents, when we've got a lot of land out there that can be, I don't wanna say test trial, but I mean, just without no neighbors, and the longer it goes out, I'd like to find out what an actual safety measurement is, and we don't have, I've talked to Dave Bruner with the fires, to be able to put them out. He doesn't know of any protocol as of yet, not that there's not gonna be one, cause I'm sure they've gotta come up with one to be able to put them in. But they let them, and then if we're dry, wind's blowing, they catch on fire. Now if it starts igniting through, and we've got this much land out there, then.
Do they catch on fire? I don't even,
That's what I wondered.
Well, they're on electric, so there could be, I mean, I don't know, the
Right.
panels themselves catch on fire, but there could always be a potential of,
Well,
Yeah.
what happens is
There's
like
one
when you
in the
install
fight.
one, if you look at the one in Devon Farm, when you install one at the end of each row, there's a cutoff. Because when the fire department goes in there, like if I wanted to
They can
install one in
kill
my
it.
house, they think that they're hitting the main breaker, thinking they shut off, no, cause there's another breaker for the solar panel, and they'll get electrocuted. So there's that. I mean, I did look into it, I really wanted to put one in, you know, so like I said, I'm not anti technology.
Yeah.
I think just technology is great, it's just I can't get my head wrapped around
But in this
the
mass,
cost.
that is, makes it
Yes.
all the
Yes.
more,
Well, the-
And that's why I don't have them on my house, is because it
Yeah.
didn't, it wasn't cost effective.
It wasn't cost effective for me to do it, even with the
Do they-
subsidies.
Like when they put in these big solar farms, do they put any breaks in between their panels at all?
There's like-
Alright, so.
Yeah, there's,
So I
They
guess
get the
I,
buying of the land,
in
the
the-
contour of the land.
No, but I mean, far as just, you know, let's say for instance, this is, we got, 50 acres that are just flat as could be, you know, they build them, but do they put basically any kind of
Oh, I see what.
breaks
In the-
in between them and all?
in my research, I spent over a year negotiating with this company and trying to figure out whether I wanted to do this or not. And one of the things that I made them or had them do was they flew me to Houston and showed me one of the solar fields that they had there. And there weren't necessarily like fire breaks, but there would be a large row of panels, and then there would be a gap where there was a service road
Right.
through, you know, and then there would be another row of panels.
it was
is
big
what
enough
I
to
saw.
get, big enough to get a boom truck down.
Oh yeah, big, yeah, you could get anything.
Because that's how they replaced the panel.
Sure.
Now, when you, as long as you've seen some of, now, is there grass under this stuff, or is it
Well,
all gravel?
What we saw was all grass. It was Houston, so not a whole lot of grass anywhere
Right.
in Houston, but
But I mean-
it was grass, and there were sheep grazing underneath it. They had workers there taking care of it. And these, you know, the one up at Devon has a big tall fence. These just had a 5-foot tall fence of just rolled wire with one piece of barbed wire across the top.
You know,
that
when
would
you
be
talking
the
to
next
those
thing,
people,
yeah.
are they, going to put any livestock or anything around it, or is this thing?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, that they would run. They like to run.
Yeah, they'll lease
They
it
like
out
to
other
run
people for
sheep
sheep.
underneath it, and they'll lease that to somebody semi-local or whatever, somebody that wants to run the sheep.
But that's about it, they won't
And,
run goats and they won't run cows.
I understand that there are some places where they run cows under them, but they have to make the panels way higher to do that. And what I saw wasn't high enough to run cows under them.
Right.
They don't run goats because goats chew on wires.
Right.
Didn't you,
So-
yeah, you said that.
And they'll probably do llamas and alpacas, cause they're
But-
about like a sheep, so.
I didn't see that, but I don't know.
But again, I think it would have to be a little taller panel.
Yeah. So I guess that's what I saw.
The other thing I would ask you guys to look at is, I'm sorry, Bill.
No, go ahead.
Last thing I'd ask us to take a look at is the life cycle of a panel.
Sure.
Right now, we're up to 20% efficiency on a panel, but I haven't heard that the life cycle has increased anything. And looking at the moratorium on your taxes, I'm like, wow, that correlates exactly with the life cycle of the panels. So I'm like, all right,
Are
well,
we talk? What did you say the life cycle of the panel was?
I didn't,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
What did you
So-
say? What was 20%?
20% is the efficiency, it used to be 10% was the efficiency for the panels. Now
sure.
we're up to 20.
And I've heard that a lot of places. What does that mean? 20% efficient means it uses 20% of
No,
the
it produces,
sun's energy?
for the way they figured out whatever the amount of energy coming in, how much of that does it produce in electricity, the original panels was 10%. The new panels are up to 20%, and it's getting better.
Right.
Okay, it is getting better, technology is
Right.
getting better. The thing that I haven't been able to square it away with, to piggyback on Bo's point, and again, I'm not pro or against, I'm kinda like in the middle trying to figure this out, is the cadmium telluride that is located inside the panel.
When I talked to my representative about that issue, he said that most new panels were all made with silicone instead of those inside of it. That is old technology, and
The
that
silicone or the fire hazard.
is not an issue. Still, I don't know about that.
And
From what I
cancer hazard.
pulled up.
Silicon's made of sand, I mean.
Silicone, they put silicone inside people's bodies.
But
It's not.
is it silicone or silicone?
Oh, I guess.
Yeah, that's what
Silicon
I'm
is
saying.
made of gravel, it's the second most abundant resource on the
Which,
planet.
and the one, and I can pull it up, or
But
not
made
now,
of
but
sand.
later. But there was one that was basically radioactive or whatever
from the
with
dust,
hazardous
but
waste,
it's
and that's the
not in a-
cadmium one with
it's
the
in a
copper
Yeah.
zinc.
form,
And
not
then
in a-
the one with
I don't
silicone
know.
was more of the
I- this
fire
is-
hazard
I just
ones
did-
that
I
have
heard that say
more
something on the internet.
probability of catching on fire.
Uh-huh.
From what I was reading today, now, I'm not saying that that was a reliable
Sure,
source.
yeah, and I don't know.
I just was reading it because the Olathe one caught on fire on top of the mall this last week. And so I was reading on how they put it out or trying to, and that's how that come across was the two types that they're using.
Did it say how they did put it out, or it didn't?
It didn't say, I'm hoping.
Probably that
when I
fancy
get
foam
home,
that
I
causes
can find
cancer.
more, But I didn't see it.
What?
No. I know it wasn't with water because I got, when it said they had hydrants all around, I couldn't use the water, but then it said
No.
read more, and when I clicked it, a cookie thing came up,
I
and then I
know.
got side lost
Pay
on
$7
where I was
for
at.
Yes.
So.
No, I know
didn't
they
get
have
to
a, there's a firefighting foam out there that we was playing with back when I was still in the fire department that you could, you know, it had the little siphon deal so you could suck it into your water hose. And it pretty much put everything out like immediately, like,
Right.
because it sucks all the oxygen out of it and so then it just goes out and then, and that foam lasted long enough to take all the heat so it couldn't make it night. Now, whether or not that works on this, but
Right.
but that's the same thing, if you get these things and that foam works on those, now the county can afford to buy that high dollar foam to fight the fires to give to the fire department.
Sure.
So that they only burn for 10 minutes as opposed to
Instead
4
of
days.
2 hours or whatever.
So, but yeah, you guys do your research and figure out and start working on it, and I'll be here to, I guess, be referee, at least for the first few.
Okay, when is the next one?
I say
Monday
next
night.
Monday after the commission.
Next Monday
meeting, huh?
after the meeting.
If that works for everybody.
What time is the commission meeting? Is it?
5, the commission meeting start at 5:30.
Do we
You
have?
guys must have got through pretty fast tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
There wasn't much on the agenda.
So my complexities, my school board meetings are once a month on Mondays at 7:30, which we may be able to be done by that.
If you hustle.
Well, I don't have it tonight, then I'll have one next week, and then every second Monday
So, I
after
mean,
that. So
It-
if we could set like a starting point, and maybe we can't do that, if we have to use this room, maybe we can't do that, but if we can say we're gonna start at 6 o'clock, whether or not the commission's done, I don't know, if there's another room available,
How
or,
about on the day that you have your meeting?
Not, on the other,
On the day you have your meeting in Uniontown? Maybe
Uh-huh.
we meet in Uniontown.
and that's fine with me, that would,
Does
honestly,
that work for?
that would,
Because
The only
that's
thing is we don't have the video if we want
Oh.
to record it, right? Is that important?
Well, that's not,
I don't think it's important
that's
as long
not
as you have
necessary,
notes.
correct?
It is not necessary.
It's
to
not
record the
necessary.
video.
And that would work
I
out
guess
for me.
I would like to see a set time,
Yeah.
rather than
Right.
after the commission meeting, because,
Yeah.
you know, like last week, you know, it was, 7:30, 8 o'clock before the commission meeting got over.
right, and with the budget coming up, they're all probably gonna run long.
Yeah.
We can, I mean, it depends on how everybody's schedule is.
What if we just did Tuesday nights? Does
Yeah.
that matter?
I can't be
Anybody?
here on Tuesday nights because I work second shift, Tuesday through Friday. Now, we don't have to do it during the week, we can do it on a Saturday night if you want somewhere. And I don't care, it don't have to be recorded, don't have to be public, it's public record, cause,
but I
You
don't
take
mind
notes.
doing it on Monday, like, if I wanna come to the commissioners meeting, just like that.
I'm
I
good
do
every
like
day
that.
of the work week, any day, but the weekends with travel ball and all that stuff,
Kids
I'm
stuff,
sure you
I
got,
prefer.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough.
that's up to you guys, you guys decide, and if I can be here, I'll be here
So
if I
if we
can.
do Mondays and if we did it next Monday and met at the school, that would work well for me.
We're gonna have it, when does your school start? We're gonna be done before he has a school board meeting. Or
Mhm.
do
No,
you
they have,
already
I
start?
have, I have them all the time, no matter what.
So how about we meet every Monday until he has a school board meeting and we don't meet?
There we go.
We
can do that,
You have
that's
one
next week.
But I have
right?
one next week, I have a school board meeting next week.
And then every second week, do you say?
So it's the
Every
second
second Monday?
the second Monday of every week. So
Oh.
I'll have one a month, I have one a month. on
Oh,
the
second Monday of a month,
Is
you
there another
said,
one?
because you said.
They're at 7:30, so I mean, we could meet at 5:30 and that'd be, give it way more time
Could-
than would need be.
Is
We
that,
could, there is another room, I would have to talk to, the emergency manager.
Yeah, I was
see if
gonna say, we
meet
could
in
use the
back.
emergency manager's room,
cause I'm like, you can
Yeah.
just meet here. like,
somebody will have to
set
let
that
you in,
time.
but, and then I can always come and join the meeting after the commission meeting, so if you guys wanna have your meetings,
How about we does 5:30 next Monday work, and then we'll figure out if we can meet here or meet at the school? I mean, does either place
Yeah,
work?
that's
I assume you know.
5:30 next week?
5:30 next week?
so, yeah.
And we'll talk about kind of the health and environmental stuff, and then in that, kind of talk about space.
At least we can start getting a feel of what everybody's
Yeah,
doing, where
yeah.
everybody stands.
If you guys are here by 5:15, we'll find out from the emergency manager if we'll use his big room, and I'll take you guys down there,
Okay.
Okay.
cause one of us will have to let you in.
That's my only thing, is it's in a secure area in the back, so we can't just prop the door open and let everybody,
We need to
walk
be
in.
able
Right, I'll take you guys back there.
But the public.
And then we're
they
walking
won't
in until we
be
have a
able to-
No, you'll be able to get out, we just, nobody else can get in except
Is
for.
it a private room?
But
Yeah.
my thought is, that we have have to have an open meeting, so we can't
Oh.
prop that door open
Okay.
and just let
Oh,
the
I
public
see what you're
wander
saying.
because dispatch is back there, it has to be a secure facility. That is my only concern with meeting back there.
How
So,
about we just do it at the school next week and then we can come back here
see.
in the ones
if you
following that?
want to meet in the courthouse, we can set
Okay.
tables up in the lobby.
I was gonna say, why couldn't I do it in the
I
lobby?
mean, that
We
would
can,
be an
we can
issue.
absolutely put you in the lobby and you guys,
Works for
I don't
me.
have a problem with that.
Hmm?
Works for me.
Yes.
and you guys can still start your meeting at 5:30, just don't get so loud that we hear you in here, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's the other way around, sir.
It might be, it might be. You
Uh,
never know, you never know.
So will you send me, after you get everybody's email address, will you send that? Can I get everybody's email address so that, I guess if somebody misses, that way we can communicate, or maybe you'll do that we can communicate the next meeting is
Sure.
that stuff? Okay.
Can I say something
Of course.
to think about the solar farm, or not only solar farm, but this about solar farm, and earlier on, somebody was, when I was saying, is there something else that is not so hazardous or whatever to create money here, and, somebody was saying, is like, but this is in, or something like that. I think wind farms and solar farm, it is an agenda, okay? The agenda is to take away farmland. So this is, has been something for many, many decades worked on, and it looks like it's working very well because, people are going for it because it is lots of money, potentially, and so it's agenda to take away farmland. And then when farmers lose their land, we cannot have or produce our own food. And then they want us to be depending on the government. And then the government can do with us what they want. And I would like that we think about that, have that in mind, and keep, to go forward with this solar farms. Because I just think this is the agenda. And, you were talking about that you really made an effort to get to know the company. I don't think it that matters anything about what company. It is an agenda. You know what I mean? It is an agenda. Every company is catering to that agenda. And I think if we let the solar farm coming in here, we are supporting that agenda. That's my opinion.
I
Has
can understand
anyone-
that. Go ahead.
Has anyone heard about a law that says if the solar panels are made in China by a Chinese company, it is illegal to bring them into the United States? But if they are made for an American company in China, they can be brought in. Has anyone heard that?
I had heard some people asking about Chinese panels, and the developer I talked to, he said that they weren't interested in Chinese panels because they weren't like quality enough that they didn't have to work on them, maintain them, replace them, and whatever. And so they said they didn't ever even buy Chinese panels because it wasn't worth their time.
I had someone bring that to me and I
So
I
that
didn't
was,
know.
I don't think it's just solar panels.
I
'Cause
think it's
You're
cars.
You're talking about the
Well,
Buy America
It's
Act?
even cars.
Yes.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yes,
There is a
it's
law
Buy
called the Buy America
That's what I
Act,
was gonna say.
but there's ways of skirting law. It's a federal
Well-
law. It basically
Well-
says when you build
And
something.
some of us are very good at it.
When you build
Yeah.
something with federal funds,
Right, you have to, if you get any federal money, you're supposed to buy America.
Yeah, but what
But
they do is
if you
ship the
don't have
parts
the
over here and
product-
then assemble it here, and then it's
Exactly, so
American made.
if you're buying something and
we
it
can't
isn't made in
even-
America,
I mean-
you're gonna have to.
But see, I think, so there was a deal under I believe the Trump administration, because China was underbidding the windmills so cheap just to get the bids and get the build. I mean, they was building them for less than what it cost them to build them, they was selling to us, right, to get their product over here. That's how they was flooding the planet with all their Chinese-made stuff. And under the Trump administration, he said none of our energy producing, I don't know how he worded it, because he's the president, and they word stuff weird because they have fancy, smart speechwriters, but no energy production equipment can be bought from China if it's Chinese government made. Does that make sense? Like it's so,
And all the businesses are owned by the Chinese government.
and if they're not, China sets the factory up next to them and runs them out of business, so yeah, it pretty much, but that's how communism works. So,
Well, I understood it was also with cars.
yes,
But you can't tell about a car because there are so many parts to it, and some of the parts are made in other countries.
Well, but that's how they get past the import tax
Yes.
on vehicles and tractors, is they ship it over here without the tires on it, and then they bolt the tires on it, and that was assembled in America, so now it's an American-made car.
And things might change if the administration changes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it if they wouldn't be pushing, if the federal government wouldn't be pumping money
That's right.
into the technology, or into solar, wind, or even ethanol plants, wasn't subsidies.
Well, but you can't just blame the government on the wind and the solar, because they also subsidize the oil companies and the oil.
And the
I understand, but
And the
That's not
cars
new.
and the,
That's not
you
new.
know,
And I spoke with one of the representatives that I spoke with in the solar company. He said, he's claimed that their project worked without any subsidies. It was still a profitable project without any subsidies. And I asked that question just because administrations change and things change, is all the money going to disappear, and then they're not going to be any money to keep it going? And he claimed that their project made them money without
So
any subsidies.
they don't get subsidied,
No,
or
they-
they?
No,
would?
they get. I think
Okay,
they
but
get.
it would be.
I don't know if
worked
they get
out.
subsidies. I'm not saying they don't
Okay.
get subsidies.
I think he's saying they plan on, if the subsidies go away and they're in the middle of a project.
they can
Still-
still.
I
they can
know.
still make
Making
money.
sense.
I know right now, 30%, under Trump, the subsidies dropped down to like 22%.
Okay.
And then under Biden, it went up to 30%. Under Obama, a friend of mine, and the only reason I know is because he installed one. Under Obama, the subsidy was 50%.
But I
So
think
he got his solar panel. That's how I got interested. He got a solar panel in his house. I'm like, oh, this is great. But when I did the math, it
But
wasn't right.
that's residential. Residential and
Yes.
industrial is
Right,
different.
right,
It's totally
correct.
different.
Yeah, but I wonder how different, because those
I don't know.
numbers.
I bet we could find out.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that's another
Well,
research.
and they'll all tell you, because the ones I talked to said they don't have to have the subsidy money, but if the government's gonna give you free money, why would you take it?
Right,
You see,
I know,
did
like,
you ever
on
hear of
wind-
anybody turning it down?
On wind,
But it's not that
Well, the problem is they make it harder to turn it down than they do to just accept and cash a
I've
check.
never
I'm
heard
like,
of
that's
anybody turning
dumb.
it down.
see, and the problem with residential is the way that they're set up now, the power companies, Evergy as an, for instance, because I checked on wind, my wife wanted a wind turbine, and we checked on that shortly after we moved down here. And at that time, they were doing you could either sell it to them or do a net metering. Well, net metering at that time was to the end of the year. And that was the most profitable way to do it at that point. And then you had to watch and see how much you produced, and then you shut your turbine down. Say, for instance, you produced enough that you could run 3 months, you shut your turbine down, that's when you did your maintenance. Now, my neighbor put in solar panels behind his business, and now he has to do net metering per day. So what they've got it, what the Energy and those big companies don't want us to have is basically what it amounts to. And something else, and I don't know how the commercial ones, but like he said, you know, you really gotta watch it and move them, you know, to be efficient with them. You know, you actually, you know, like you see a lot of houses with them on the roof. Well, they're not as efficient as a standout set, because then you rotate them to match that sun, so you
And
get your
these will
efficiency.
these will move.
Yeah.
They're like they look like the ones on
But-
Devon.
But there again, on, you know, and we looked at it, well, you get 30% tax break on it. That don't do you any good. If you don't have enough income, you don't, that 30% is not, you know, they make it sound that's so great, and it isn't, you know, in residential. That's one reason you don't see a lot of residentials, because it just don't pay out. I talked to a guy out at Devon that put some in, and he said it just finally, I think he's had his almost 7 years, and it just finally paid out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just know I looked into it, and it wasn't worth messing with on my house, so.
Yeah, like that wind, that turbine, it was gonna cost, almost 50 grand to put it up. It wasn't the generator that was expensive, it was the tower, because we had to put up a 100-foot tower. The tower was way more money than the turbine was, so it just couldn't do it.
so do we have a motion to adjourn?
That's up to you guys.
We don't need one, do we?
No, we do.
I should make one.
I so move, we adjourn.
Right,
So
second.
Oh, one thing, are we gonna divide any of this out as, you want somebody to?
I think everybody kind of bring their own thoughts to start with, and then we
Okay.
can kind of figure
So
out.
we'll be here in a week, and our homework is to look at health and environmental concerns, right?
And Jennifer will send us what she gets, if she gets anything.
Probably.
Thank you.
Okay. See
It was-
you
Hey, it was nice meeting everybody.
Where are you guys
Thank you very
going? You
much.
coming here next week?
I don't know.
Yep.
in the
Yeah.
foyer.
In the foyer.
That's right, you're going to the lobby, that's right, I remember now, sorry. All right, guys, well,
Yeah.
Good night.
the advantage is I think everybody can get along, so,
Sorry, I was
I
late.
don't think we're gonna have trouble.
at least for now.
I would have start fighting. It's not worth that, Jimmy.
Absolutely, that's.
I simply refuse at anybody.
Is that your pin, Gene, or was that here?
That was up there.
Okay.